Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Good to see you all. Just wanted to talk about a device I haven't shown as much on the channel yet, and that's the Go 10.3. I want to go through four of the things that I highlighted in a recent blog about books that I really like and dislike. So, two pros, two cons on this device, and show you why I think it's both a phenomenal device, because it is. I've often said that if there's one device that would replicate as close as possible the Supernote Manta to me, it's the 10.3, and really more my original A5X than the Manta, just because of what it's capable of and what it does. What we're going to do, we're going to dive in and we're going to talk about the power of two things: the notes and the Neo reader. And we're going to talk about the downsides to the notes and the Neo reader. So let's go ahead, hop on in, take a look at the device, and I will see you back after that. All right, everybody. So here we are with my Go 10.3. And I've often said that if I was going to move away from the Supernote ecosystem full time with a Books device, it would probably be this device right here. Now, don't get me wrong, the Tab XC and the Note Max, they have their use cases. They're huge and they're very good for reading academic PDFs, large PDFs where you may want to annotate and write up things. But the 10.3 to 10.65 range really allows you to still do a whole bunch of that and not really lose too much. It's not as easy as a larger device because you do have to do some rescaling and some things like that. But at the same time, this makes it very functional. All that aside, I wanted to use the 10.3 for this because I want to show you some of the biggest pluses I see in the Books platform, specifically on the 10.3, and then some of the drawbacks. So we're only going to do two and two just for this specific use case, but I do want to talk about that. And I wrote a blog article a while back, which I'll link down in the description, that talked about, my positives and negatives for the device. And the two positives that I really want to jump into are the Notes app itself in Books, because it has a ton of features. You can do all kinds of different things. Here you can see where I took some work notes on the Ignite AI feature within Canvas and some different components. The one thing I don't like as much is the way you have to tag, because you don't have traditional headers, and it gives you this color, which kind of blocks out being able to view what you have there. And so that bothers me a little. But the plus side of that is the fact that when I search by tag, I'm actually going to be taken to it and I'm going to see what the tag is. So if I'm directly over it, I can read it better. I'm a little bit at an angle here, so it's a little bit harder to see. But let's go ahead and we'll expand this toolbar here, because that gets you the full toolbar. And again, you can see there's still quite a bit of real estate. I prefer, just like on any of my devices, to hide the toolbars and deal with the most real estate. I do like the nav ball, so I have that set up here to do some different things, but I keep it collapsed and down. But I want to show you two features that I think are important in the Notes app. So one is the tagging, which is really easy to do, but it's at the page level. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create a tag. So right here, if we go in, you're going to see these are the tags that I currently have, and they're attached there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can create a maximum of 5 tags per selection. Now you can do more than that per page. So let's say that here, I already want to see what my tags are. So I have meetings, I have Canvas, I have Valpo, I have 2025, and I have AI. So let's go ahead, and I almost did my 2-finger swipe gesture. And let's circle this. That's going to mark that piece of text right there. I'm going to say that I want to add tags. It's going to recognize that text. You're going to see there it is. It got a little bit of extra on it, but that's okay. And so now let's say that, I mean, I'm not really going to do this, but let's just say that I want to say this is also a review. Now I could do up to 5 tags here again. It's just not being able to add them all at once. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it's still a very powerful tool. I go ahead and I say, okay. And now when I go back here, I'm going to see all of those tags. So now I see 6 tags instead of just the 5 that I had previously. But one thing that's very nice, and you'll notice here, there's an outline already in there. But if I want to, I could create another outline. So let's say I want to hold down here and I go to my add to outline, and that's a very powerful feature in the Notes app on Books. I say I want to add an outline. I go ahead and it tells me page number 1, and then I want to say 4 questions, and I say, okay. And so I go ahead and I add that to the outline, and it's added successfully. Now, I could have, instead of doing that, I could have added that right here as a sub outline. So I could have said 4 questions, and that's going to come right up, and I'm going to say okay, and you'll see it's there, and I could go ahead and get rid of this entry because I don't need that anymore. So that's the power of the outline, and the outline is nice. The problem is the same inverse is true of the fact that with your tags, you get this highlight that you know it's there. With your outline, you don't. You don't get any of that. And so it's just a little bit of a different interface. It's not better or worse, it's just different. And I really kind of enjoy being able to visually see at least the outline components, some kind of differentiation. If it bolded it, if it did something, it would really help. But I understand why they do the tags, because when you search by tag, it's going to show you that highlighted text. And I really do get that. Another thing about the Notes app, and let's go ahead and get all the way out here. So we'll get out. And the thing about the Notes app is just the amount of different notes that you can create. Now, I think personally, there may be too many in some ways, but that's just me. So if I go here to create, I get a lot of different ones. So I can create from a local file, which is something that is a little bit more of a streamlined process than the Supernote devices where you have to use that My Style folder. You still get the same effect. You get the same thing happen where you can pull in a PDF and you can use that and convert it to a note. But it's just a little bit easier here to do it straight from a local file without having to go and navigate to a different section, a different note, and create that template out front. Here, you can do that right from the get-go really quickly. But you get your handwritten notes, which I just showed you. You get infinite notes, which have that infinite scroll, and then you get your text notes. And then you get what's a quick note. And the quick note just opens a note page. So you don't pick any kind of template or anything like that. It just opens whatever your default is. So for here, if I'm going to open an infinite note, I can go ahead and we'll just leave it at infinite 3. And now I can just go ahead and write. Now, the Go 10.3 specifically has one of the best screens in e-ink. It's Carta 1200. It's very bright. It's very vibrant. There's no front light. So you're not dealing with all of the issues that can come with a front light, which is gap to screen distance. And if you look at this, you're going to see that that is so flush. You don't see any separation there. I mean, it really is just that nice and clear and crisp. That's one reason that I really like this device, is because you get all of that functionality. Now, what are some of the other things in the Notes app that I find really interesting and great? One is just the idea of being able to easily export, but you can only export as specific things. So if you go and share, you can do a bitmap, you can do a picture, you can do a vector PDF. It is nice. It allows you to do it by size, which is something not all devices let you do. So you can do the original. You can actually make it an A4, an A3, or an A5 size. So you can scale it to that. And then you can share a bunch of different ways to be able to make that happen, even to different applications. So it's really nice. I don't like that you can't export the note from to a text file or any kind of Word document. So you only get a bitmap or you only get a PDF, a JPEG, or the book's note. And that's a little bit of a drawback, which we'll get to here in a minute, but still the power. You have the active Smart Lasso feature. You can change your template very easily. It's got where you can add pages as the last page, before or after a page from another notebook. You can add in images. That's something you can't do on a lot of different platforms. So being able to add in images is a big deal. And then you also have the ability to add links. Now, it's a little bit more clunky than some, but it's still not bad. And you can add links to images. Of course, I don't have any files in there, but you can add links to images. You can add links to attachments. You can add links to other notes, other files, and even the web. So it's a really robust feature set for what you can do. And I think the Notes app is really, really good. I think it's a little bit overwhelming in some ways. So let's go to customize here. And you'll just notice all the things I don't have on here. And that's just because there's just too much for me. I don't need a shape tool. I don't need a fill tool for those shapes. I don't need the recorder. I don't need to subtract a page or recordings. I don't tend to use layers in my notes. Now, I do use that in other things, but I manage to disable my gestures and really kind of keep this toolbar as minimalist as I can because of the fact that I'm used to coming from a device that keeps you minimal. Now, you do have the AI button. And again, that's where you get your smart features, your text recognition, which of course there isn't any text here. So let's go back into our other note for that. And the AI feature is, kind of cool. So I can do text recognition. I've already done the other things. And so it's going to go ahead. It's going to convert this. And this is where the sharing feature, and this will be the first con. So I'm doing this with what's the advantage. Advantage is just the sheer power of the Notes app, the writing experience, the ability to tag, the beauty of the screen, all of the tools at your disposal, the ability to share, the sync across the device. The Notes app is just fabulous. But here, when you share, you can go into Reflow and you can reorder all of this, or you can leave it as is. You can copy, you can insert text. Here's where I wish they would just streamline the interface a little bit. So when I'm on the regular notes, the text field is grayed out, but it's available here. So since they're converting in the background, which I've already turned on, why can't I just convert and share right from the main note? That's how other devices have handled this, and that just would make it so much easier if I could just say text, export, and then when I go to that, here it is. It's right here. So what you're going to see here is that we've gotten our text out. It looks really good. Everything came through pretty much like I wrote it. And I think my biggest problem is that workflow piece, not the handwriting recognition. That's excellent on this device. And as a matter of fact, if we go back and let's take a look real quick before we go on to the Neo reader here. If we go back in here, one thing that I do want to show you that I think is probably best in class for any of these devices that I've ever tested is if I go up here and I click on the note and I want to rename this note, which I'm not going to do, but I get a lot of false positives, even in the Supernote handwriting recognition, not in the note itself, but in this virtual keyboard. So I want to talk about the virtual keyboard for a minute. This is probably one of the best implementations I've ever seen of a virtual keyboard because it gives me everything I need and none of the things I don't. And I think that's really cool. So I have my access to my number pad over here and say I want to put a number in. And then what's cool about it, it gives you this little back arrow. So you just go in and out really easy. It's seamless. It works really well. I love it. But it also, even on tricky words, let's take a word like rapport, and I put that in. Sometimes what's going to happen is it's going to miss one of those strokes, especially between A's and U's. So let's say I knew somebody named Rupert, and so I put Rupert. And when I do that, it's going to catch it. See, it saw Rupert. And the reason I point that out is because a lot of times on Supernote and other platforms, when you write that U, it closes it and makes it an A. And that can be frustrating when you're using that keyboard a lot for manual input and for naming things. So that's a real superpower on books that I don't think gets highlighted enough, is just how good that keyboard is. And that's not specific to notes, but it works really well and it makes a lot of sense there. So that's a huge piece as to why this is so powerful. Now, you'll notice I do have this over here checked, and that's my turn off touch, primarily because this does not do well with palm rejection. So I tend to turn off touch and just leave on some of my gestures. A lot of times I'll even turn off the bottom gesture because if I slide my palm up, it'll accidentally close the note. But again, that's more of an interface issue than a notebook issue. And the notebook is just extremely, extremely powerful. So I really like it. And of course, you get all of your pen options. It even gives you colors so that when you export, it all comes through very well. I use the calligraphy pen on books because I think it looks really, really nice. This is and my handwriting is not the best right now. Good example of my writing. And of course, it's not a good example of my writing, but it shows you kind of what the calligraphy pen has to offer, which is really cool. And of course, that saw it as a smart scribble. So shout out to Kit. He's going to enjoy that because that's why he hates it. But for me, it's really useful because I don't draw a lot. So I don't have those false positives on it as much. And it does work really well. And that's another thing with books is just the idea of the scribble to erase, they call it, because it works really well. And I don't end up having to switch to my eraser. I don't miss the Supernote gesture because I don't need it. I don't miss the gesture on the Smart Lasso because if I was to write hello here and I just circle that, it's going to lasso it. It works almost all the time. It's just, to me, as effective and easy as the Supernote gestures. So I find that really cool. And the fact that they've modernized the toolbar to even be able to do some of the AI stuff. So that text recognition right there. It's just a really handy tool, and I like it a lot. So that's enough for the Notes app right now, and what I really like about the Notes app, and what's kind of frustrating about the Notes app, which is this idea of getting it off the device is not as easy as you might think it should be, and I really think that's an issue they need to work on. The Neo Reader is probably one of my favorite tools. And I'm going to start with the con on this one just because of the fact that the library in books is such a frustration point for me. So, for example, you'll see right there, I get an error that says the source file of this book has not been uploaded. So you have to manually go in and upload every one of these files. You can sync your bookmarks, you can sync your highlights, you can sync a whole bunch of stuff, but it doesn't automatically allow you to be able to view everything. And that to me is a big, big miss. I don't know why it does it that way, but it does. And so that's a huge miss. The syncing of the library, once you set it up and once you make it works flawlessly. But until you tell every single book, every single PDF that you want it to upload to all devices or to a device, you're not going to get your PDF. So if you're working on multiple devices, so if I'm working on the 10.3, and then I go to work on the Note Max. If I forgot to tell that file to upload, I'm stuck. And especially if I ended up not bringing one of them with me. So it's a big deal. Now, on the other hand, what's really powerful is once you do that, everything travels. And the Neo Reader is the most powerful tool that you can possibly imagine, almost too powerful for my needs when it comes to reading books. And one thing in books and PDFs and EPUBs, primarily because it does some things that the Supernote doesn't. So, for example, right here, I've already written on this. In Supernote, I have to do all of my changes to margins and to font size and all of that before I write on the book because there's no way to rescale that. However, on books, it allows me, Zoom is going to say it may cause some issues. So if I zoom in a little bit and you'll see I get that little tracker there. And then as I go to move it, so you'll see here, I can pan around and make it move and do some different things with it. But what happens is my notes, my actual notes stay where they're supposed to. And that's a big deal. That's something that Supernote just doesn't have. So again, that's one small thing with the Neo Reader, but if you thought the toolbar on the other was crazy, just look at all the options in the Neo Reader. And I just can't overstate how this is too much for me. There's just too much going on. I don't need all of this. I don't need auto page turn. Now, I'm glad that they have it for people, but again, I don't know of anybody who's going to use all of this. Your toolbar would be insanely huge if you were going to use all of this. I even feel like it's too big with what I got. But at the same time, I do need highlighters. Do need to see the page display, undo, redo, previous and next page just in case, and have the menu. And I need to be able to disable touch, and I need to have handwriting. So I need to have most of this, but it's just a lot going on. And then it gets even more complicated if you go into writing editing mode, because now you have all of these things. And then you can customize that toolbar. And there's even more stuff. So again, it's complex, but there's nothing you can't do inside this reader. It is hands down the best reader on e-ink that isn't a Kindle. It does everything a Kindle can do, in my opinion, and then so much more. Because if I go and select something, I get even more options and I can customize that. So if I say got it, it's going to give me all of these options and tell me what I have and what I don't have. I can have word search. I can have dictionaries. I can highlight. I can annotate. I can embed comments. I can do so many things. Now, whether you want to do all of those things, again, depends on your use case. And I even get now, since I'm in the writing component, all of the pen choices, all of the color choices, all of the different things that you would get across any BOOX platform in the Neo Reader, I get on the Go 10.3. So yes, I won't see it in color on this device, but the minute I export that off, all of that color comes through. So it's a really, really powerful tool. And, I can't brag about it enough. I mean, when I'm marking up papers on something the size of the Note Max, this is invaluable for me because I don't use a lot of colors, but I do use blue ink and I use highlighting, and then I embed comments. Now, do I use all the other stuff? No, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. One small gripe is the handlebars. They seem to have gotten a little bit better recently, but they're not great at resizing to the text. They really aren't as accurate or as easy to use as I would like them to be. But I mean, just look at this. You can annotate, you can translate other dictionaries, you can share this snippet, you can do the AI assistant straight from here, you can underline, copy, paste, add a link. So many different options within the Neo Reader. And I just think that's really awesome. So I can snippet that little piece of text and go straight into the AI agent if I want to, and it's going to give me a little summary of that. Pretty cool. Again, not a feature that I think everyone will use. I probably wouldn't use it actually, but it's nice that you have it there. The only thing I do wish is that they would make it much easier for you to customize this without menu diving to such a huge extent. Now, they have allowed you in some cases with toolbars to create multiple toolbars, but not always. And like even there, that was something I had forgotten to show you. You have your text. So now I went from pen input to text input, have a toolbar, has more things, and then I can go back out of here. And now I'm back into the writing toolbar. And then I go out one more time and now I'm back into the global toolbar. So it's just a lot. It just really is. And then I tend to hide my toolbar, which is, I think, a really nice feature to be able to do and have, it really compact and compressed. But let's go ahead and jump back over, give you some concluding thoughts, and we will see you in just a minute. Hey everybody, thanks for hanging in there. I know that this video was a little bit different. I was a little bit scattershot, but I'm really torn with this device. I absolutely love it. I think that if the Supernote didn't exist, this would be my device. It's still wacom EMR. The Notes app is phenomenal. The Neo Reader is probably best in class when it comes to reading on any device. I think it rivals the Kindle as far as functionality and things you can do. Jeff Moss, my good friend, always used to say that books had the most features per square inch. And he's 100% right. There's nothing you can't do on this device. However, with great power comes great responsibility, and that's where Books falls a little short. The Notes app and being able to get it off device and making it clunky for you to be able to get text files and export those. And then on the Neo Reader, it's just so many options. You can get lost in menus. It's menu after menu, feature after feature. And the syncing, the library syncing on Books when it comes to any of this is very difficult to set up. Now, once you set it up, book syncing between devices for notes and for the library is phenomenal. It does an excellent job of carrying over anything you do from one platform to the other or from one device to the other. The Books app is a story for another time. It's not great, not my favorite thing, but the actual sync between devices, once you set it up and configure it properly, is absolutely phenomenal. But anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the support. We've hit over 4,000 subscribers. I can't thank you enough for that. Check me out. I'll drop a QR code here to buy me a book. So you've heard of Buy Me a Coffee? Well, I've got Buy Me a Book, and that is the same thing, just with my spin on it. You've seen it probably on Mark Kelly over at The Spark. Brandon Boswell has talked about it. It's a really good platform. I'm just getting started over there, so feel free, check it out. Let me know what you think, what you'd like to see there. Patreon is not going away right now, and maybe never. YouTube obviously isn't going away, but check out everything. Let me know, subscribe, like, give me a comment, engage with me down in the comments. I always reply unless I happen not to see it, which very rarely ever happens. But let me know what you think. Do you like this style of format? Do you like me to do the longer videos? I've been doing more quick hit videos recently, but really interested in hearing your thoughts, opinions, and everything else. But until next time, keep on moving forward, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.